let's talk a little bit about this importance of drinking water and the ability to add additional things that will help the detox process. So this is a simple recipe. We put a sprig of rosemary in a quart jar of water, some sliced up ginger, a bit of lemon, and a couple tablespoons of maple syrup. It's a really enjoyable drink, and it helps the body to deal with some of that detox if you're having trouble. Detox symptoms could be anything from headache, nausea, rash, or wherever your weak system is. You could feel a little bit worse before you feel better. If you're feeling worse, let me know and increase your water along with this beverage that'll help detox. I'm going to walk through a couple different people doing this 4-day elimination diet and then reintroducing foods to see what happens. Yours will be different. That's the whole point of this. We all have very different tier 1 foods that are best for us. Let's use Amy as an example. So Amy is not very reactive. She was very lucky. This system really worked for her fairly easily. She did 4 days of just the tier 1 foods, removing any food she already eats daily, and removing any food she tends to be sensitive to. So you will see on this there tier, she started out as 160 pounds before the program. She went from 159, 158 down to 157. So initially this is just inflammatory weight, but it allows your metabolism to rise and allows you to lose weight. She went an extra day without introducing foods there. On Friday, she had no additional symptoms of things that normally bother her. And then she began introducing foods. So we have coffee. The first food she reintroduced was coffee, something she already eats daily, so she had to take it out and then test it. It looked like it was fine. The morning of coffee, we have 157.7. The next morning, after all tier 1 foods and coffee, it was even down a little bit. So she said, okay, what's my next food that I like and I'm going to miss? She tried oatmeal. So oatmeal is a higher reactive food. Let's find out what that did for Amy. And we go to the next day for Amy. Coffee was fine. When she added in oatmeal, her weight went up a full 2 pounds from a small amount of oatmeal. The interesting part about this is the actual quantity of oatmeal was probably 1/3 of a pound. It's not very much, even with water, but it causes a certain type of inflammation that lowers metabolism and triggers the body to gain weight. So she went up on the oatmeal day, and so come Tuesday, the next day after that, she still wasn't back down to baseline. That had caused enough inflammation that it takes a couple days to go back down. So she waits another day, doesn't add things in, and Wednesday she's back down to 157. So she adds in zucchini, something she grows, so she eats it every day, so she had moved it to tier 2. Now she's adding it in and it looks fine. She eats plenty of zucchini and is still eating zucchini and it's fine. The next day she adds in lentils. Lentils again are fine. Oh boy, this is exciting. What types of food have I been avoiding that I thought were bad that I didn't eat? So sourdough bread. Sourdough bread tends to be really low reactive, even for people who are sensitive to wheat. So she adds in sourdough. Weight actually goes down. That's good. Well, if I can eat sourdough, how about wheat pasta? Let's have some nice healthy wheat pasta. Nope. So Saturday morning was 156.7. Then she has some wheat pasta on Saturday. The next morning, back up to 159. So we continue in this process. On Sunday, she'll add nothing new. Eventually, for example, around Thanksgiving, you're going to add in a dozen or more foods that are on the upper tiers during that time, that's okay, because you know you can go back to what are your tier 1 foods for a few days and get back to baseline and start over. So here's Amy's tier sheet, the tier sheet of foods. Everybody's will be different. You see we moved the lentils over to tier 1 because we learned about those. We learned about sourdough bread. Where is that? So we are able to move that to tier 1, and there's no more questions about that. We moved pasta to tier 4, knowing it's a reactive food, and we moved oatmeal to tier 4, knowing it's a reactive food. So Amy will continue in this way, trying to add foods about one at a time and then stopping and going back to her tier 1 foods as soon as she gains weight or has any other symptoms. The tier 1 foods here, those will continue to increase and get bigger and bigger. And the tier 4 foods, hopefully not too much bigger, and these will get smaller as we learn and there's no more questions about the middle foods. So let's investigate Lisa. Lisa is more reactive. This was a little bit more difficult for her and didn't go as well in the beginning as planned, but we did figure things out. So we have these 4 days of tier 1 foods, no change in symptoms and no change in weight. It's just basically the same. So we've got a couple things going on. For one, she's still eating reactive foods. We just don't know what those are. And she probably has some weak detox systems. So we just have to go back and reinvestigate tier 1 foods. Any foods that are suspect that she eats a lot. This is a simplification because it didn't really go this fast and quick, but she did figure it out and was able to lose the weight or begin losing weight and go in that direction. So we have the symptom of itchy skin, which is pretty obvious when you have that due to a food reaction. We reinvestigated and we decided to remove any lamb, zucchini, or any type of squash at all. And this is what happened. The weight did start to go down after removing those foods. And here is Lisa's tier sheet of foods. So it took a little bit longer. We had to move things around, but now we're making tiers 2 and 3 that we don't know about smaller, and we're making tiers 1 and 4 a little bit smaller. So we learned that zucchini doesn't work here. It has to go to 4. We learned lamb goes away from here. And then I'm just going to simplify as if you're having a problem with any one family of foods, it's a good idea to just remove them all for now. Eventually we will reintroduce them. So we have, what did we remove? Lamb, zucchini, and all other squash. What else did we learn? So farther down, I didn't do the next sheets, but she also found some good news. Some things like, again, it's not for everyone, but sourdough bread, that's now on tier 1. She can eat it. Cheese, interestingly enough, cow cheese especially is highly reactive, but Lisa's fine with it, so she can eat that. It just took a little bit longer to figure out what she is reacting to. We moved celery to the safe place. We moved avocado. We moved tomato, which means, again, we have a family of foods. So these nightshade vegetables, usually if you react to one, you'll react to them all. So we'll still test, but there's a good chance those are fine. What's something else? So chocolate, we haven't even tested yet. She's probably sensitive to it, knowing her history. But here's a little organic gummy candies from the health food store. They're fine. While it's not healthy to eat all the time and sugar isn't great for you, she can eat some gummy candies and she can eat sourdough bread and some fun things while focusing on tier 1 foods and continuing to lose weight. So changing your foods and moving around the tier 1 and tier 4 foods so that you're avoiding anything that's causing inflammation and contributing to weight gain is the first step. but there are further steps to that that can reduce your overall reactivity. So if Lisa avoids these reactive foods, the tier 4 foods, doesn't eat any squash or lamb for a few months, there's a good chance that she can add those back in. And then those may be safe foods. Any food you're reacting to, if you take it out for long enough, usually you can put it back in. Once you add these foods back in, you do have to be careful to rotate them, because as soon as Lisa eats sourdough bread and cheese every single day because it's so yummy and exciting she can eat it, after a while those will become reactive. By the same token, she can add in foods she's avoided for a long time and try them again. And then we do need to evaluate the cause of the reactivity. While removing the foods calms down overall reactivity, there may be something else going on that is making her so reactive. So we've talked a bit about detox pathways by improving your water consumption. We'll look deeper in the next few weeks into stress, sleep, and hormone imbalance, and how all of these things can make you way more reactive and make you a reactive person like Lisa instead of someone like Amy, who is only going to react to a few things. And Amy's detox, stress, sleep, and hormones are probably pretty good already. This is how the Tier 1 food list will help you to lose weight. Avoiding those inflammatory foods allows the metabolism to rise, and it allows your body to operate like it should, actively converting all calories into energy. So you may find yourself with even more energy as well as losing weight. And the Tier 4 foods, those make your body inflame and react, even if they're considered healthy for other people. The Tier 4 foods we've determined are reactive for you, and those tend to stress the body, which lowers metabolism, and it sends a signal to convert those calories into stored fat for later. It's a simple survival and storage system. This is the meal plan sheet from last week where we were just Tier 1 foods, and then we've added to each item something from Tier 2 or Tier 3. So Tier 2 foods are less likely to be reactive, and the Tier 3 are more likely, but everyone's individual. So you can follow this sheet to add things in, or you can also focus on your own foods that you miss the most. Let's highlight a few of these. So eggs. If we can get eggs in and eggs are safe, that opens up a whole world, an easy breakfast and some muffin recipes that we'll do next week. Another one is turmeric, and the recipe handout has turmeric in powder or fresh turmeric, which is like ginger. So if we can boost up our detox system by adding a little bit more turmeric, that would be helpful. Milk is a little more reactive, but if you miss it, let's find out. Sugar, of course, is not healthy for you, but it's not highly reactive. So if we just add a little bit of sweet here and there to make our food more enjoyable, it might make the program work for you. Honey, some fruits. A nice one to add in are onions, because onions are really healthy, and once we can add them in, it opens up a lot more stir fries, a lot more flavor. Here's something interesting. So a lot of the antioxidants that we know of in our green leafy vegetables that are really healthy for you, they also can be reactive. So it's really important to test these things. One problem that we end up with sometimes is one of those really healthy dark green lettuce mix that has so many things in it that frequently people will react to those and they don't know what it is. Is it radicchio? Is it endive? Is it cabbage? Which type of lettuce or leafy green are you reacting to? While we also want to eat lots of leafy greens, we want to monitor and make sure you're not reacting to them. So we want to find out which types of leafy greens are good for you so you can get those healthy greens and healthy antioxidants without any inflammation. So we move down. Bok choy is one of my favorites. Garlic is a good thing to test, not highly reactive, but a little bit of garlic really improves flavor. Butternut squash is extremely healthy and adds variety. Lentils are really nice. They're the least reactive bean, so lentils are a really nice way to start. Just adding lentils cook up really fast, so just a cup of water and a 1/4 cup of lentils and let it simmer with the top on for a half an hour. Add it to your food as you would a grain. And then we add some other things, whatever you are missing and liking. So goat or sheep, cheese or yogurt, we can start with those. Cow is more reactive, but if you're missing it intensely, then you can test it early.